Topic: the hidden anxiety of a packed schedule. Why your brain uses constant motion to outrun the silence of your own soul. Welcome to Catsychology channel. Have you ever noticed how a cat will suddenly start grooming itself with intense focus the moment it fails a jump or feels startled? In the world of feline behavior, this is called a displacement activity. It is a way to channel nervous energy into a familiar, rhythmic task to avoid the vulnerability of the moment. We humans do the exact same thing, but instead of licking our paws, we check our emails for the 10th time, color code our calendars, or say yes to every project that comes our way. We are not just being productive, we are performing a ritual of avoidance. Today, we are diving deep into the video title, Why Your Brain Mistakes Being Busy for Being Safe. Most of us live under the illusion that an empty calendar is a sign of failure, or worse, a sign of insignificance. We have been conditioned by a culture of hyper-productivity to believe that our worth is directly proportional to our output. However, psychology suggests a much darker root for our busyness. It is often a defense mechanism against what psychologists call existential vacuum. When we stop moving, the silence allows suppressed thoughts, fears, and unresolved traumas to bubble to the surface. To prevent this, our brain triggers a frantic need for doing. This is the core of toxic productivity. We stay busy because if we stopped, we might have to face who we are when we aren't achieving. Dr. Viktor Frankl, in his seminal work, Man's Search for Meaning, discussed this phenomenon extensively. He noted that Sunday neurosis is a kind of depression which afflicts people who become aware of the lack of content in their lives when the rush of the busy week is over and the void within themselves becomes manifest. This void feels like a physical threat to our amygdala, the brain's fear center. To the amygdala, a moment of stillness is a moment of exposure. If you aren't hunting or gathering or building, you are a target. This primal instinct is why your heart races when you have nothing to do on a Saturday afternoon. Your brain has mistaken the safety of a to-do list for actual survival. Think of our mascot, the wise ginger cat. When a cat is in a new, slightly stressful environment, it doesn't just sit there. It walks the perimeter, sniffs every corner, and stays in constant low-level motion. It is busy map-making to ensure no predators are lurking. You are doing the same with your inbox. By clearing notifications, you are sniffing the corners of your digital environment to ensure you aren't about to be attacked by a missed deadline or a disappointed boss. But unlike the cat, you never stop to take the nap. You just keep sniffing the same corners over and over. Consider the story of Sarah, a high-level marketing executive who prided herself on her hustle. Sarah would wake up at 5 a.m., hit the gym, answer 40 emails before breakfast, and work until 9 p.m. She told everyone she loved the energy, but the truth was found in the rare moments her flight was delayed or her phone died. In those 20 minutes of forced stillness, Sarah felt a crushing sense of dread and worthlessness. She realized that her busyness was a shield. As long as she was the busiest person in the room, she didn't have to deal with the fact that her marriage was cooling, or that she didn't actually know what made her happy outside of her job title. Her brain had convinced her that a full schedule was a fortress, but it was actually a cage. The actionable insight here is to practice productive stillness. We need to reframe our internal definition of safety. Instead of seeing a gap in your day as a vulnerability or a leak in your efficiency, view it as a diagnostic window. When you feel that frantic urge to check your phone or organize your desk, stop. Ask yourself, what am I trying to not feel right now? By sitting with the discomfort for just 5 minutes, you teach your amygdala that silence is not a predator. You begin to decouple your sense of safety from your level of activity. This is the first step in moving from a state of frantic doing to a state of intentional being. We often think that by filling every second of our lives, we are building a shield against failure. But in reality, we're just running from the sound of our own breath. When we talk about why your brain mistakes being busy for being safe, we have to look at the hedonic treadmill of activity. We believe that if we just finish this one project or answer this one last batch of messages, we will finally reach a state of peace.
But that peace never comes, because the doing is the very thing keeping us from being. Our brain has a remarkable ability to prioritize short-term dopamine hits from completing minor tasks over the long-term emotional labor required for deep healing. This is why you will spend 3 hours organizing your digital folders instead of spending 30 minutes journaling about why you feel unfulfilled at work. This internal avoidance is what the renowned psychologist Carl Jung was referring to in his work The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious. Jung wrote, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own souls." This is a profound truth that explains the modern obsession with constant connectivity. We are terrified of the shadow, the parts of ourselves we have deemed unacceptable or painful. By staying busy, we ensure that we never have to enter the room where the shadow lives. To our primitive brain, facing the shadow feels like walking into a cave with a predator. Therefore, it keeps us safe by keeping us on the brightly lit path of endless chores and professional obligations. But a life spent only on the path is a life half-lived. Consider our feline friend again. A cat that is constantly on edge, never grooming properly, never entering deep REM sleep, and always twitching at the slightest sound, is not a productive cat, it is a stressed cat. It is a cat that does not feel safe in its own territory. When you are in a state of chronic busyness, you are telling your nervous system that your life is a hostile territory. You are effectively living in a state of high cortisol survival mode, which ironically makes you less creative, less empathetic, and more prone to burnout. True safety for a cat comes when it can sprawl out in the middle of the floor, belly exposed, completely still. That is the ultimate sign of a confident, secure animal. For us, that belly-exposed moment is the moment we put the phone down and just sit with our thoughts. Let's look at the scenario of David, a freelance developer. David lived by his safe zone of constant work. If he wasn't coding, he was learning a new language. If he wasn't learning, he was networking. He felt that if he stopped for even a day, his entire career would vanish, and he would be exposed as a fraud. This is imposter syndrome, fueled by survival busyness. One day, David was forced to take a week off due to a severe flu. For the first 2 days, he was in a state of near panic. But by day 4, something shifted. In the silence of his recovery, he realized that he didn't actually like the types of projects he was taking on. He was staying busy with low-value work to avoid the terrifying risk of applying for the high-level creative roles he actually craved. His busyness wasn't protecting his career, it was preventing its growth. To break this cycle, we must implement the pause protocol. This is a psychological reframe where you intentionally schedule non-negotiable nothingness. This isn't a break to watch TV or scroll social media. It is a dedicated 10 minutes of sitting without input. When the anxiety rises, and it will, you must label it. Say to yourself, "This is my brain trying to keep me safe through distraction, but I am safe in this silence." This simple act of metacognition shifts the power from your amygdala to your prefrontal cortex. You are training your brain to recognize that stillness is not a threat. Over time, you will find that your most profound insights and your deepest sense of security come from these moments of quiet, not from the bottom of a finished to-do list. As we wrap up this exploration of the busy brain, remember that your value is not a tally of your daily tasks. You are more than a human doing, you are a human being. If you found these insights helpful, please consider subscribing to the Catsychology channel and liking this video. It helps us continue to bring you deep dives into the human and feline psyche. We would love to hear from you in the comments. What is one task you use as a shield to avoid stillness? Let's start a conversation about finding true safety in the pause. Until next time, take a lesson from the cat. Find your sunbeam, stretch out, and remember that sometimes doing nothing is the most productive thing you can do for your soul.